It gives me great pleasure to introduce Kurt Dupont, founder of PresentationPoint. Kurt is PresentationPoint's a company that provides world-leading software for digital signage, data-driven presentation, and real-time dashboards. For over 22 years, his software has helped clients such as NASA, SpaceX, Nikon, IBM, Sony, and many other world-renowned companies. And his topic today is how to automatically create PowerPoint slides from Excel. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kurt and turn off my video for now.
Thanks, Garland. Let me introduce my, let me share my screen and put this aside. So my name is Kurt Dupont, and I'm going to show you how you can automatically create PowerPoint slides from Excel data. So first of all, I would like to start with a quote. Communication is the real work of leadership. This was said by Nitin Noria, who was a professor at the Harvard Business School. And basically, when you read this, communication is the real work of leadership, what it means is that if you are running a company, if you are working with your colleagues in a team, then you have a future, you have a target. And when you want to reach that target, you have to measure everything, and you have to inform your employees about your future. Where do you want to go with the company? More profit, happier customers, whatsoever what your target is. But you always have to tell them, you have to inform them about the target that you have set. Otherwise, without the communication of the targets and the reporting every week, etc., you are not a real leader. So communicate, tell the people where you want to go to, and inform them by communication. That's an important quote, and that's what PresentationPoint is trying to help you to communicate better and to be a good leader in your company. First of all, I want to introduce to you a new product that we just released this month, MessagePoint. Automate your communication. Imagine this. MessagePoint is a web application just like YouTube. And on YouTube, you have channels. So here as well, on MessagePoint, you have channels. A channel for every department in the company or a team that is working on a project. On YouTube, you have subscribers on a channel. Just here, like here, you also have subscribers, personnel, employees, colleagues that you add to a channel. Next is that you can design a great looking PowerPoint with information, targets, figures, charts, trends, whatsoever in PowerPoint, and you can upload the PowerPoint to a given channel. Why would you do this? Well, let me show you. After you have uploaded a PowerPoint presentation and assigned it to a channel, that PowerPoint presentation will be running as a screensaver on everyone's desktop. So you design a PowerPoint, you upload to the web application, the MessagePoint web application, and MessagePoint is distributing your PowerPoint as a real screensaver to all desktops of that team. Next to the screensaver, you can manage from your computer the lock screen image of everyone's computer. So you can set a team picture or a quote or whatsoever as a lock screen image. Next to that, you can manage the wallpaper options of everyone's desktop. So what can you do? You can set a fixed color to the desktop. You can set a single image, or you can, and that's more powerful, you can set a picture slideshow. So you can assign, for example, 12 images that you want to show on the wallpaper, and you can set a refresh rate. So every minute a new image, or every 10 minutes, and so on. So you can send powerful information to the desktop as a wallpaper. The advantage of using wallpapers is, of course, that everyone is always looking at the information. You're always, when you click on an icon on the desktop, you're seeing that quote or that target and so on. So it will help you for your communication. Finally, MessagePoint has another option. You can send from the web application, you can create a message and you can send a notification message to everyone in the channel, or for this purpose, you can send it to everyone. And you have a title and a description, and you can inform people about a large project that just was signed by a customer and so on. So this is a new product, MessagePoint, from PresentationPoint. Also great for communication, and that's what we do. Okay, but today we are going to talk about generating PowerPoint based on Excel data. So here, let me start. When you want to show information, in Excel, then you will probably see that a presentation like this, when you send this to your boss or to your colleagues, it's not that what you want to send out, and they will not find you a great designer when you look at this. So we can do better. We can use a PowerPoint slide where you have much more control about how it is showing, the size, the font, the colors, the images, animations, and so on. We all know that. So this is a good example of the same information that we just had on the Excel file, like here, but then on a PowerPoint slide. And it's looking much more attractive. But you can do more with PowerPoint. For example, we can create it like this. So we can fill a number with water. So for example, when we are telling a story about the percentage of homes with a bathtub, we can show the image like this. Or why not like this? We can show an infographic where we have 10 bathtubs on a row, and we can use an animation. I'm going to start, or we can create some suspense in the room, and we can ask questions of like, how many rooms or how many homes do you think they have a bathtub? So people will say 20, 80, and so on. So finally, you can click and the animation starts, and then you have something like this. So it's an infographic. It's giving you the exact same information, but now that 76% is looking so much more attractive. I can show you how this special thing was created. So basically, you have a few shapes that are lying on top of each other. So you have, first of all, a shape with the 10 bathtubs, and you cut out all the bathtubs from the image. Then you put it on top of the white frame or the shape, the rectangle, and then you have this. So basically, let me undo to the original position. You can click, and sometimes it's hard to click on the shape that you want, but I can show you. So it was just working. If it's not working for you, you can have the select pane option here on PowerPoint, where you have all the shapes that you have on the current slide, and then you can disable or hide elements, and then it's much easier to grab the shape that you want to use. So for this purpose, I wanted to grab the meter shape here. And basically what you can do is you can just resize that rectangle. So for example, here for 60 or 50%, you place it here, and then you have this animation on there where it flies in from the left. Later on with DataPoint, you can connect this shape, the size of this shape, to the value in Excel, and you can change it while the slideshow is running and so on. But you will see later on. Let's go back to the slideshow. Okay, Excel is great. Excel is an excellent product, part of the Office package, and it's the king of calculations. When you have to calculate something, no doubt about this, use Excel. Enter the information, make the sum of one column. It's so easy. Excel is great for calculations. Also, it's great for data entry. So you just open an Excel file, you go to the data sheet that you want to use, and you just add some new information to the Excel file. easy to use, very simple. And basically, Excel is very often used as an easy database. When you want to set up a database in Microsoft Access, SQL Server, also so you need a database administrator. So you first of all have to design the tables, make the relationships, put on the indexes on the tables and so on. So it's a little bit complex and only a few people can do this. An Excel file is much easier than this. You have the data sheets that you can use for the tables to store information on persons, products, sales, etc. And then the rows and the columns that you typically have in Excel is also what you have with the rows and the columns in a database. So Excel is great for a simple, easy database. PowerPoint, on the other hand, is also great for presenting. And why is it great for presenting? As you have seen on the slide for the bathtub story, you can create a story. You can create suspense because you can use multiple slides and build up a story or a message to the final point that you have. Yeah? And it's also interesting to use PowerPoint to create infographics. It's very easy to add shapes, images, lines, arrows, and so on, and animation, of course. In between, you can use the DataPoint. DataPoint is a bridge or plugin in PowerPoint that connects PowerPoint to data. And that can be Excel, can be a database, that can be weather information or RSS feed, even XML, JSON, and so on, social media, and so on. The advantage of using DataPoint as a PowerPoint bridge in between your data and PowerPoint is that once that you have a presentation that is linked to your data source, that it refreshes automatically when you open a presentation. So that's ideal for reporting. You never have to look for the latest version because you just open that PowerPoint file that serves as a template connected to your data. You open it and the data that is linked to the data sources is refreshed automatically when you open the presentation. Next, you can run the slideshow. You run the PowerPoint as a slideshow. And DataPoint can update the information, the shapes that you have on the slides in real time. So you can update every second if you have that information. Finally, you can generate documents based on the linked PowerPoint presentations that you have. So this is called mail merging, where you have, for example, 1,000 products. You have one slide, 1,000 products in your database in Excel. You have one slide in PowerPoint. You link the first row of your information or data set on the first slide. And then you can mail merge that information into a new document or even create multiple documents. So when you had 1,000 records or persons in the data source, you can create a PowerPoint with 1,000 slides or even create 1,000 PowerPoint files with one slide in there. So that's for the generate of documents. And I have an example for you. Last year there was an exhibition. A few of us will remember this. An exhibition in Seattle for the presentation industry. And we created a movie, so to say, in PowerPoint where you have some animation. And we are using information from an Excel file from the participants of that exhibition. We generated a personalized presentation for everyone. So here's just an example. So that Alan is coming from the Excel file. And then you can show the information. So just to show you that you can build some great looking movies even in PowerPoint and generate movies out of this. I think it's not running smooth. It's a video though and PowerPoint, but I guess that Zoom is interrupting this a little bit. Okay, I'm going to end this. Okay, the advantages of using DataPoint is, first of all, when you have text boxes, shapes, whatever shape in PowerPoint connected to a data source, then you are sure that you will not make a typo, or you will not forget to copy paste a specific value from your Excel file, like you can do now when you do it manually. You don't have to wait anymore till someone has entered all the information and copied all the information from the Excel into the PowerPoint. No more waiting. If you have a database that is collecting in real time all the production information from a factory or sales information from your shop and so on, you just open the presentation and you look at the latest information. So no more waiting for the latest information to be pasted in the PowerPoint presentation. Automation, you can generate, as I told already before, you can generate presentations in bulk. And that's how you can be a leader in your organization. So we can help you with DataPoint to become a leader, to automate the communication presentations that you have that you can use for your colleagues. Okay, this was the introduction, and now we can start showing a demo of DataPoint. First of all, I have a Excel file, of course, with some dummy data in there, not that much for this sample. I'm opening it here, and here you see a typical Excel file. We have multiple data sheets here at the bottom, and here we have the slide or the data sheet that we want to use with the information, just a first name, last name, and a score to keep it very simple. So this is the sample information or the sample data that we are going to use in the next presentation that we are going to set up. First of all, I want to give a trick. Normally, when you open an Excel file, it's single use. Only you, because you have it open, you can edit the file. So this means that another person who is maybe also going to that network share and opening that same Excel file, they will get a notification that you have that file open exclusively. In some situations, you want to work with multiple people on the same Excel file. That's interesting, and that's a normal behavior for a database. By default, Excel is not sharing the Excel file to multiple users, and you have to enable this. In the previous versions of Excel, this was in there automatically, but it was taken out in the more recent versions. To get this back, you can click File and then Options here. And then we have to customize the ribbon because we are missing an icon or a button in the ribbon. And first of all, we have to switch here to all commands, not popular commands, but all commands. There is a list, and then we have to scroll down to share. Almost there. Here it is, share workbook legacy. We select this one, and normally we should add this to a group here. So let me create a group here in the view section. Here, I click new group. I can rename this. I can say sharing. You can choose an icon if you want, and you click OK. So we have created a new group, and now you can add this button into this group, share in the view group. So when I click OK, and we go now to the view option here, we have this option, this button, and this is what we need. So we can click on here, and normally by default, this option is unchecked. So I've checked this here already, use the old shared workbooks feature instead of the new co-authoring experience. This allows you to work with multiple people on the same Excel file. And also note that when you are working on the Excel file, DataPoint might as well use that file for updates when you are showing this Excel file or data on a dedicated screen as a slideshow. So this is shared, so that's fine. And then we can start a PowerPoint presentation. So we can start PowerPoint with a new presentation. It's taking some time. There it is. So I'm starting with a blank presentation. And normally PowerPoint would stop here after the help. So we are using now the DataPoint bridge or a plugin for PowerPoint, and that extends the normal PowerPoint menu with this option here. Let me first of all get rid of this white background and just put some gradient like this. That's already better. Okay. Let me resize. I go to DataPoint and I have to start with list connections. So I click on here and I get a list of all the data providers that DataPoint has. So I can, for example, connect to Twitter and display real-time Twitter information, or Oracle database, Microsoft family, Google family, news, weather, and so on. But for this purpose, we are going to use the Microsoft Excel data provider, and I click Add Connection. Okay, we can browse for a file. And I have to go to the file that I have open there, Excel linking, and this is the Excel file that I can use. So I click OK, and now we see here new Microsoft Excel connection. Let me rename this my data file, and now I can click Add Query. I get a list of all the data sheets. So we had in here recurring slide data, DataPoint chart data. That's the same that you see here. I have to use, let me check again, recurring slides data. So I select this one. We can specify a range. This is fine. So this is the range that we are using. So it basically starts at A1, so that's fine. If you have more rows, more columns, if they are empty, that's not a problem. If you have more rows, of course, you can always extend the number of rows. The first row contains the field names. Let me check again. That's true. So this is the first row. That's the field names. If I don't use this option, DataPoint will use F1, F2, F3 as field name or column name. So it's better to use this. And here we can set the refresh rate. Default 60 seconds. So this means that when I run this slideshow or this presentation as a slideshow, DataPoint will check for new information in the Excel file every 60 seconds. So let me, for this purpose, just lower this to every second, and I click OK.
Kurt, we've triggered a few questions here if you want to
Yes.
take. So
Sure.
Sandra asks, can you refer to a named range or table in the connection?
Yes. In the list of data sheets, you see the names of the data sheets and also the named areas. Yeah.
Great. And oh, by the way, during the bathtub animation, we had some feedback. Gail said, brilliant layering, love it. And Dejay said, excellent bathtub data. Animations. And
it's a silly sample. It's just one number, but you can bring it so big in PowerPoint. That's the advantage of using a infographic or something like that. Yeah, true.
So Robert says he's using something called T-Wedge to transfer data streams from USB or TCP/IP, basically Internet of Things, sending products live into Excel. Would this be able to be sent into DataPoint as well?
Yes, yes. All the data that you have inside Excel that is collected somehow will also be available for DataPoint. Yeah.
Great. That was all of them so far. Thanks, Kurt.
Okay, thanks. We continue. So let me just give this a decent name. I mean, call this names. So here you see the same information. It's basically the raw information from the Excel file that we have here now as a preview in DataPoint. And that's just the work that we have to do to make a connection to data. So when I click OK, nothing apparently has happened on this slideshow, but we have the data now in memory inside this presentation. So I can now use a text box, and I can click in DataPoint on text box. I see, or I get a list of all the data connections that I have, only one, because I only have one connection to the Excel file. And you see the names that I have used. So names was the name of the query. So I select this one, and then you get a list of all the column names. So only three: first name, last name, and the score. When you select first name of row number 1, you see here a preview Davis. Let me check again. Davis is here, the first value of the first name column. When I click OK, I have now forever linked this text box to the cell A2 of Excel, the first data row there. Okay, let me do some typical cosmetic changes in PowerPoint. Let's make it white. And why not choose another font? And then place it, for example, here. Something like that. Okay, Control D duplicates my text box. I place it here. And now I have two options. Or I go into text box again, and I switch the first name to the last name. Or I just cancel now in this case. I click the +C shortcut here in the data point. And that brings me automatically to the next column. If I want to go to the next row, I can do the +1 or the -1 to go back and so on. So first name, last name, that's linked. Let me delete this one. And then duplicate again this text box. Put it here. Let's make it some bigger. And here we can, and now let me use the text box. I can switch to score. 42. 42, there it is. 42% we have in the Excel file. So it's not looking nice. Let me format this as a percentage, 42, and there we have it. And we can make it a little bit bigger. That's it. Okay, now we are going to use an image. I have in my folder here, I have a few dummy images of all the people that I have in the Excel file. So I have for, what was it, Davis. Here is Davis. Davis, that's the icon or the profile image of Davis and all the other people in here. So let me go to the PowerPoint again. I want to add that image dynamically linked to Davis or whatever name is in there. So normal PowerPoint is when you want to show a picture, you click Insert Picture, this device, you go to your hard drive, Pictures, let me insert the DataPoint logo or icon. There it is. I can resize this and put it here. Okay, so this is a normal picture as everyone is doing or inserting in PowerPoint. We are going to make this picture dynamic. We are going to link this to a data source. So we click DataPoint Picture. Do you want to convert this picture into a DataPoint picture? Yes. What do we want to use? The same data source as we had already. And now I can use the first name. So I select first name, first row. And we see here already a preview of the name or the file name that he wants to use. So it's pointing to a specific folder, and Davis is here because we had selected the first name. So when I switch to last name, we see the last name there. We use the first name. I have to help him a little bit. The data of the selected column contains, and then you can check if we have Davis only in the first name column, we can say that it only contains the file name. So this means that we can set the folder and the extension because we only have Davis here as a file name. And this value or this path here is coming from the path from the presentation that we have. That's why we have it there. Let me go here I'm copying the path from my file explorer, going back to DataPoint, and I paste here the path, the folder. And because we have a PNG file, I type in PNG as the extension. And there we have now a full valid path pointing to this Davis PNG file. So when I click OK, that DataPoint logo is now dynamically linked to the first name .png of that Excel value.
Another question, Kurt.
Yes.
So Bill Thomas is asking, what if the info for each person required 2 slides so that the entire presentation contained a lot of 2-slide sets?
You can use multiple slides and you can repeat, or you can use other information or column names on the second slide and so on. And yeah, if you have multiple data sets, you can use whatever slides that you want to use and connect every slide or every shape to a specific data source. That's not a problem. There's no limitation on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so we have this slide ready. Let me save this file, this PC, browse. And then send it where I was working. And let's call this certificate. There it is. Okay, 42%. That's what we have for Davis. Let me close the PowerPoint. I have the Excel file still open. And let me change the 42 in 82, for example. So I saved the Excel file. And now I'm going to open again this certificate PowerPoint that I just saved. So now it's opening the PowerPoint file and DataPoint comes to life and will make a connection to the Excel file and then read out the new information. You see? So this is the first option of DataPoint. You have data refreshes when you open the presentation. So once it linked to a sales database or Excel file, you always have the latest information without doing anything, without copy pasting, as you do probably now. Next, I can run this slideshow, and let me first of all, normally I would run this full screen as a kiosk presentation, but let me now, because I want to open the Excel file as well, I switch here, I was too fast, here to the browsed by an individual in a window. So this allows me to run the slideshow in an application, and I can put it here on this side, and I can place the Excel file here. And now I can, and the zoom is in the way. So let me put it here. I can now, for example, change this in 50 for Davis. And when I hit save, you see the update happening on the slide. So this is a silly example, what you see now here. Basically, when you run this in your company, you would have a dedicated television screen in the office, in the factory, at the coffee corner, whatsoever, running this slideshow for you. And you have other people or processes updating the Excel file, and then you see the live updates on that dedicated screen. So this dual setup is just here for this demo. Okay, so whenever you have an update, update the Excel file and DataPoint will pick it up and display the information in real time. What you also can do is define some rules and conditions. So you can say, for example, this value, this percentage, if it's more than 90%, I want to display it in green or in red. So you can set up rules and conditions to color or emphasize a specific value. That's also an option. Going back, let me set it full screen again, like so. Okay, next, we have multiple rows in the Excel file. So 6 people we have here in this Excel file, and we only have one slide. So what we can do is we can duplicate the slides and we can increment the row number of every text box to point to the next row of Excel. That's one option. But what if you have 10,000 rows in here? Then you have to create a new presentation with 10,000 slides and increment the row number, etc. So that's not a good solution. We have something that is called data scrolling. So we click here on the slide, data scrolling. You see the list of data files that I used on this slide, only one here. I check the enabled option. I set the step size to 1 row at a time. The step time, for example, to 3 seconds, like this, and I click OK. Yeah, let me refresh the data. Now, when I run the slideshow, watch this. It will display every row of the Excel file for 3 seconds and then jump to the next person. So one slide only, multiple rows in the Excel file, and you can still display all the information.
I have a couple of questions, Kurt.
Yes, should.
Well, first off, one person went, wow, when you made the data connection. During the picture part, Gail said, awesome sauce would be greater for updating a better picture too. Robert's
Sure.
asking, can I also see graphs from Excel, or will this still come?
Graphs are a little bit different. You can't just copy paste the Excel graph into PowerPoint. You have to start with a chart in PowerPoint. And then you can use DataPoint and link the data sheet that is inside the chart in PowerPoint to the data source that you have. So it's a little bit more steps that you have to do to create a chart, a data-driven chart in PowerPoint with DataPoint. But it's very easy.
Okay. So Gail says, what if the info in the database is updated monthly in a different workbook? Would you need to repeat these steps for each month?
Yes, you have to switch to the next. If you have January, February, March, etc., and someone is adding April next month, then if you have to use that information, you have to switch the existing data connection that you have and just select the other data sheet. So that's yeah, something that you have to do.
Gail says, or tab, I guess.
Yes, that as well. But what you can do is you can have an Excel file and a PowerPoint in the same folder. You can leave out the path so that you only use the file name, and then you have relative linking from the PowerPoint to the Excel file. That gives you the flexibility that you can copy the files to another location and it will still work because it has that relative path in there to the Excel file.
Yeah,
but if you have new data sheets, new names, then of course you have to reconnect or switch the data sheet. Yeah.
Gail says, terrific, rotating through the data in one slide. Yes, it's good.
It's a time saver. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was all the questions. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. We can continue. So, okay, so this was running one slide, multiple rows, and you just mail merge the information on one slide. Also ideal for when you display RSS feed, news via an RSS feed on your slide. Okay, let me think. I'm going to show you. So I've shown you already the opening at the, by the refresh at opening, the continuous updates when you have a slideshow running. Yeah, and now we are going to generate slides and PowerPoint. So we are going to generate documents. I have this. Let me switch back. So it was running. Just let me switch back to Davis, the first row. There it is. I can click snapshot now. Here. Snapshot is just a process that's running in DataPoint, and it's basically creating a new presentation, a temporary one, based on the latest information that we have in the Excel file, as before, but the slides will be duplicated now. So for a runtime, I run a running slideshow, you saw that we only had one slide where we switched to the next row and so on. This temporary or generated snapshot presentation, as you can see here, has physically generated all 6 slides. Why would you do this? Okay, when you're not running as a slideshow, Or if you have to generate a product catalog or reporting on different states in the US, for example, or different products or different customers or cities that you have, you can easily create a slide or multiple slides for every city that you are reporting on. So this is a new snapshot presentation with the latest information, but now this is disconnected. So this is basically static, and this can be sent to your colleagues, and they don't need to have DataPoint nor access to your Excel file. That's the advantage here.
And Kurt, I think that answered the next question, which was from Mark, which is about once a PowerPoint deck's completed and Excel data locked, is there a way of breaking the connection?
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's
answered
it.
it perfectly. So.
Okay, we move on. So this is duplicating the slides inside one PowerPoint. But we can do more, of course. We can do a snapshot save as, and basically it's the same, but it will now generate multiple documents for us. So not one presentation with multiple slides, but we will have multiple documents. And this is interesting for reporting. So I click snapshot save as. It's asking me for the column name for the file name. So we are generating 6 PowerPoint files because we have 6 persons in the Excel file. So we can, or we have to name the files, the documents that we are going to produce. So I'm going to use the first name as the file name. So we can see a sample here, davis.pptx. No? I want to save this in a specific folder. So let me go here to this PC, my C drive, my temp drive. I create a new folder, March 24, for example, and I select this folder. So I have the first name, I have a folder, I've set the file format for PPTX, a normal PowerPoint presentation, and now it will create a file, for example, the first one as davis.pptx. I can do some changes to the file name, and I can say certificate of, and then you see here in the example, certificate of Davis, and I can add here a suffix behind the name, for example, 2021, and then we get something like this. This is all that we have to do. I click OK, and now DataPoint will generate a snapshot as well, and this is much faster as the inside generation. So now let me open my C temp, and then March 24. Here I have 6 documents because I have 6 names in my Excel file. Certificate, and then every time the name, I can open this one, for example. And you see here, this is again disconnected from my Excel file. It's generated, populated with the information of one specific person here. And that is how we have the others as well. That's the other one opening there. So you can have here again reporting on different cities, different products and customers and so on the fly.
Kurt, I'd just like to mention something. I know we have a lot of educators in the room here, and there's some schools who have been using this to create kind of like graduation certificates, or to show at graduation each student and their accomplishments and a picture of them and things like that. So this is, you can see how fast this would be to create if you had the database in place.
Yes, true, so true. Maybe you don't want to generate PowerPoint documents, but maybe you want to generate PDF documents. You lose the animation, etc., but you can still create great design in PowerPoint. So let me switch the file format to a PDF, and I click again on the OK button. And a few seconds later, there it is. We will have new files, 6 PDF documents in my folder here. There they are coming. So now we not only have 6 PowerPoint files, we also have 6. Let's finish there, close, and let me close this one. This one again. So we also have 6 PDF files. Let me open this one here. it opens in a browser, the PDF. And there we have the same information in a PDF format, in case you need PDF output. And we can do more. Let me add, for example, a transition, like a push transition here. And let's animate this picture. Let's do whatever, something like this. Yeah, or maybe, where would you have it? The very ugly bounce, this one that I was looking for. It's a very typical PowerPoint animation. Let's put it in here. So when we run this, yeah, and somehow, yeah, it's moving faster than the animation comes, but look, be okay. Let me go to DataPoint, snapshot save as, and now I will switch to an MP4 movie. So next to PowerPoint, a PDF, and a PDF, we can also create MP4 movies. It's just saying me that the window will be closed, and it will now be generating all the information for us. So now we will add 6 MP4 personalized MP4s to the folder. It's a little bit slower, of course, than the PowerPoint generation. We can have a look already here at the folder. So Davis is still ready, two files, 2 movies ready.
Kurt, just wanted to mention while you're looking there, a few people said they had to leave early. So the recording will be available on our YouTube channel, and it will be emailed to all of you who registered for this. So you will all receive a link by email, or you can just subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.
Yes. That's finished. So what was it? A bit more than 1 minute to generate 6 personalized MP4 movies. Let me open Bertrand again. And here we have the information on Bertrand. That's it. That was what I wanted to show you about DataPoint linking, refreshing, automatically refreshing at opening the slideshow, and to generate the movies or the documents for you in batch.
Kurt, I
Let
wanted
me
to
know if
mention,
you have questions.
just wanted to mention that the movie feature is huge. We put a video together showing how, for example, if you were running a political campaign, you could send a video to every one in your district, a personalized video about what the topics of interest to them, their key issues and things like that. So it's very powerful. So, yes. Sandra asked, how would DataPoint work with pivot tables and dynamic arrays?
Pivot tables, if you can put a pivot table inside PowerPoint, and I'm not an expert on charting, but normally if you have it here, all the options or the chart types that you have here can be used with DataPoint. So it's basically, we are not adding new reporting or charting functions to PowerPoint. We are using the PowerPoint charting functions that you have already, but we are binding, linking the data sheet that is inside the chart to the data source. So if we can do it with PowerPoint, we can link it or make it dynamic. Anything else?
Mark is asking, how is DataPoint licensed?
That's a license that you need for every PC. So every PC where you generate snapshot presentations or make a connection, etc., there you need a DataPoint license. When you generate snapshot presentations and send it out, then of course it's disconnected and you're not using the DataPoint functionality. Also, maybe important to mention is that we have an enterprise edition of the DataPoint version, And that allows you to use the Enterprise Edition to create presentations with the Enterprise Edition. And with that special edition, you can have an unlimited use of the DataPoint Viewer Edition that you can give to your colleagues. They can use that plugin or DataPoint plugin for free, and they will also have updates when you open the presentation. So that's ideal for reporting. So you pay a little bit more for the Enterprise Edition, but then an unlimited number of colleagues can use the Runtime Edition to view and open the presentation and have up-to-date information. But they cannot make changes to the data source. That's exclusively for you as a designer who is creating the connections.
Gail says, this is so impressive. Would Excel dashboards work in the DataPoint video?
Excel dashboards. I'm not following what an Excel dashboard is. I mean, you can grab any cell or range and import that information on the on a shape on PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's all the questions I got so far. So.
Okay. I hope this show is giving you some ideas of what you can do and automate in your company. It should be a real time saver when you can connect. It's a one-time investment of connecting a slide to a data source. It will take initially a bit, some time to make the connections and between the data and the shapes and so on. But after that, it's just a time saver because you can open and generate documents. And an important thing is that you have no typos. If you have correct data in the database, you have correct information on your slide every time.
So Kurt, was that the end of the formal presentation and we could just take questions now? Or?
Yes, sure.
Okay, a couple of things I want to mention to everybody. Everybody's asked about recordings. We will be we have recorded this, and barring technical issues, it'll be up on our YouTube channel, and we will email all the participants who registered for this so you can access it and share. Wanted to mention as well, please do go to our website and hit the contact button and contact us if you have any questions. My email address is garland@presentationpoint.com. Kurt's is kurt@presentationpoint.com. So if you've got any questions, let us know. I collect stories. So if any of you are current DataPoint users or become that, please share your story with me along with some pictures, because our readers love to hear about the real life examples. And instead of Kurt and I trying to come up with new and unusual ways that this is being used, our clients are so amazingly creative that we've got lots of great things in the case studies. If you look through our case studies, there's just lots of great ones there. So Deborah says, thanks, Kurt, for a wonderful presentation. DataPoint user for many years, taught me a few tricks.
No.
John says, how many destination file types does DataPoint have?
Destination file types?
Yeah, I'm not sure now. I know when we were doing,
you mean in the snapshot tape?
Maybe?
I can show you, probably is referring to this. So you have PPTX, you have a slideshow, PDF. You can export it as images, JPEG and PNG, and then two video formats, so MP4 and WMF.
Yeah, now Robert had asked, and source file types. So John, there's more, a little bit more than that. So you can see the various PowerPoint ones, and PDF and JPEG and MP4. And for the source file types, there's I think over 25 sources, but Kurt,
yes,
show that in the
he was mentioning Excel specifically, no?
No, I think
okay, yeah. So yeah, this is the list of 25. So Facebook, Instagram, news via RSS feeds. I'm not going to explain numbers, that's another story. Salesforce, weather information, the Google family with analytics, calendar, sheets, and then the Microsoft Access, Dynamic Excel, Exchange, Outlook, SQL Server, SharePoint and Yammer, MySQL as a database, PostgreSQL, that's a database, Oracle, a database as well. exotic databases can mostly connect it via ODBC, which stands for Open Database Connectivity, and OLEDB. Those are open standards to go to exotic data stores. Text files, which also includes the typical CSV files that you can import, or any tab delimited file, XML file, Twitter information you can display in real time. You can subscribe for a given keyword and then display all the information there. JSON, OData, and OPC for industry when you want to connect to robots and display, for example, the number of bottles that you are filling in a factory, the temperature, and so on.
Great. Robert says, yeah, great. Should work with this T-wedge then. So any other questions from anybody? Mark says, does it work with Excel and PowerPoint saved in SharePoint OneDrive or /OneDrive?
You can't connect directly to an Excel file on the SharePoint. No, that's something that we can add or will add in the future. But you have if you have a local copy of the Excel file, then of course you can link it locally. But we will add. You can connect. What you can do is you can connect already to SharePoint, and then you can connect to lists and get the information from any list in SharePoint. But we will have to add a Microsoft SharePoint Excel data provider in here as well. That's on the planning for this year, and then you can directly link to an Excel file on SharePoint.
Robert says, but you can have a local linked copy from SharePoint.
Yeah, then it's like a normal Excel file. That's not a problem.
Yeah, John says Microsoft only allows auto saving in OneDrive or SharePoint. Yeah, that's kind of annoying, I know.
Yes.
Okay, Mark says thanks. Don't think we've got any other questions there. As I said, please reach out to us. We're happy to help answer questions. We love to hear about creative ways you guys are using this. If you've got a what if case, like, well, is there a way to do it? We can often find out. We can often figure it out between Kurt and I. We can probably figure it out somehow.
No.
So lots of thank yous for the presentation coming up. So
we will still be around after the demo.
Yeah.
For quite some long time.
Well, great. For those of you who need to move on with your day, go ahead. But other than that, we'll hang in for a couple of minutes just in case there's a few more questions. So Mark says, thanks. Very helpful.
No,
Doreen says, thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Nadine says, thanks, Kurt. So
thanks, Nadine.
And as I mentioned, check out our case studies. The case studies have amazing stuff that our clients have done. So we don't have to be that creative because our clients are amazingly creative. So we get to share in the amazing stories they share with us. So. And Sophie, please email me, garland@presentationpoint.com. I'd love to hear how you're using DataPoint in your community center. And any of the others, and as I said, anybody else you're using DataPoint, please reach out to me at garland@presentationpoint.com. I want to get your stories.
There's a question, Garland. Is it possible to use FileMaker Pro file as source? FileMaker Pro is a database then? I'm not
It
sure.
is. I think it was a Mac one. I'm not sure how widely used it is anymore.
I guess that definitely you can connect with ODBC. ODBC is a standard. I think it's more than 30, 40 years old. And that's typically something.
Yeah, so FileMaker Pro supports that. That might work. Alternatively, you could have FileMaker Pro do an export, like set up a macro to export it on a regular basis and do it that way. So.
That's always an option.
Karina says, thanks, Kurt and Garland. I tried doing it myself with the trial version to see if it'd work for us. And I learned so much, it blew my mind. So,
super.
Yeah, Robert says FileMaker Pro export as Excel.
Yeah, that's always working. When you export to an Excel file or a text file, That's always
Pretty much any data you have is going to export to an Excel file. So, you know, we can pretty much always get the data out. It would have to be a very weird format that we can't get the data out, period.